You know, so
Yeah, yeah.
no,
But it would have
if
been
somebody,
number 4.
if somebody is habitually deceitful, then that is a red flag. I mean, if they're
Yeah.
you're talking about a pathological liar, yeah, that is not, surprisingly, that is not one of the more common ones. I'm referring to, these are probably the 3 very common red flags, but there are individuals who have tremendous problem with deceit and manipulation. Very often, though, people who are manipulative are usually angry people too, though.
Because, you know, as you've discussed on a previous show, you mentioned the 5 psychological needs.
Right.
And the 4th one was freedom from excessive manipulation.
Right.
So given that, I would think that that would be really high up. You know, in place. If not number 3,
it would be.
number 4.
I would say that if it's there, I would consider it a red flag. It's just people like to think of themselves as a good person. It's surprisingly, you know, I don't meet too many pathological liars. I don't. Not too many.
Not pathological, because then that would be a diagnosis there.
Well, yeah, yes, but I mean, I think the type of thing, people, I mean, as humans, we do have to understand that oftentimes people do not tell the truth for various reasons. So if a person gets caught in a lie or two, I wouldn't necessarily write them off. People do that sometimes, and I think we need to, even we are not always entirely truthful. And so we do need to give people some slack and not be too legalistic. And that's why I don't say, you know, with lying, where do you draw the line? That's why I use a term like pathologic. I mean, if they are really just lying their tails off about everything, very often people lie because they've got other relationships going on. They don't want to tell you about those things. They get angry and do things that they're ashamed of, and they lie to cover it up. That's what I'm talking about. People lie for reasons. People lie to make themselves look better. They lie to get themselves out of trouble. Okay?
Yeah, well, because I just think that deceit, manipulation, sabotage, it's like a silent killer, kind of like hypertension. You don't know it's there until it gets to the danger point. You know, you don't know it's there until it becomes a threat.
Well, if somebody's doing sabotage, that falls under anger, though. You have to be angry to sabotage somebody. That falls under both. That's somebody who's not forgiving. Why would you sabotage somebody that you loved?
What do you say about people who offer red flags? In other words, they have all of the characteristics of one or more of the red flags. These are the people that are looking for partnership, and they carry the red flags. What do you say to that?
Fulfillment is something you seek as an individual. Okay, and we talked about what does it mean to be fulfilled. Enough love and belonging, enough purpose, enough respect, including self-respect, enough freedom from excessive manipulation, enough hope of positive emotion. As we grow as individuals in all ways and we find that fulfillment, we become better potential marriage partners. That's something that people need to pursue. And, you know, that's certainly something I would advise that individual, and I'd point them in that direction.
Hopefully, through the design of this particular topic in this show, the other person will be able to recognize it in that person and help them by pulling back.
Yes, yes. Going back to your earlier question, why these? It comes down to what is our objective in a marriage partner? What do we want to experience? Think, how do you fantasize your relationship 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road? Most people fantasize about that relationship where you're sitting in front of the fireplace with your spouse, possibly children and grandchildren, on Christmas morning, opening presents together, just like when you were a child. And it's disappointing if you go through relationships and that person you're with who was at one time your best friend, the person in whom you placed your hopes and aspirations, if they are now your worst enemy. This is somebody who is completely turned against you, and you have a custody battle with them. People don't want to see that. Now, in relationships, it's important to understand that there is a natural progression. We go from the early stages, which comprise passionate love, and that is supposed to evolve into companionate love. Now, if people don't realize that a transition is mandatory, oftentimes they will give up on their partners and think, well, I'm out of love with you, because they were not able to make that transition. You need to choose somebody who is able to successfully make that transition. Right? Now,
so that's why we're having this show.
Precisely.
So that you will know the warning signs to help you make the right decision and the right choice. So what do we do with these red flags? I mean, you're not going to see them all in one person, in one relationship. You may not. If you do, that's a really unique situation.
Well, if you see the red flag, one thing you need to do is that you want to make sure that it's really a habitual trait, that it is something that's there. Okay. If it is, then surgery is necessary. Okay. You extricate the person from your life. I mean, for your own benefit.
Yeah.
Because you see where this is going. If you have somebody who, I mean, you're number 405, you know, or this is somebody who started smacking you around, or who is such a hot-headed, they're pulling out weapons, or they burn the walls up with their language every time they get upset, or somebody who just hates on a professional level, you got to leave, because ultimately that bad behavior.
Some people, I know that's probably a whole different topic. How do you do that? But we can't lead them to the water and then, you know, not tell them what to do. So if they find that this is a red flag, we're saying to pull back, to make hoping that this will help you make the decision, in knowing that this could be life-threatening. So pull back, and this is not the relationship for you.
If not,
so what do you do?
I don't want to be overly dramatic and say that it's always life-threatening, because it's not. Only in rare cases is this going to kill you. Is it going to be life-threatening? But it is life quality threatening. Yeah. It is very much life quality threatening. It involves the destruction of your very dreams. And I mean it. You do need to do some surgery. And one of the ways that you preserve your ability to pull back is watch out for the physical stuff. Early on, Americans right now in our culture, if you're not in bed by the third date, then something's wrong with you. This is crazy. This is nonsense. It's like, what is wrong with you? I mean, that totally disrespects the complexity of the human brain. It totally disrespects the idea that we are more than just a human brain. As we talked about in the near-death experiences, we are a complex creature. We are a very complicated creature. And when we become intimate with another person, that communicates love. And you know what? If that love is not really there, then it's a lie. But what happens is we bond ourselves to that individual, and we stay when we need to go. Okay, and I think that's one of the reasons why we have these prohibitions, so that we do not hook up, we do not bond ourselves to the Titanic, because that's what's happening. We are chaining ourselves to a Titanic, and it's hard to pull away once we've crossed that line.
So how do we pull? How does it happen? How do you? Well, once you pull back, once you are out of the relationship, then what? I mean, do you rebound into another relationship, or do you evaluate the process of what happened? What does a person do in order to not end up back in that same relationship? What I find interesting is the fact that much of what you have said is in a book that you've written, which is in manuscript form. And there's a chapter in the book that makes reference to what you actually do if you are in a relationship and you have to terminate it.
Yeah.
And you said in the book, it's better to wait. It's better to wait. And what I also find interesting is that there's a book that I've written called The Truth is in the Protocol. And in one of the chapters, the chapter makes reference to what to do in a relationship. And the chapter is called Wait. It's called Wait. And it describes what happens during the waiting period. Because, you know, many people don't know how to wait. Many people don't understand what it means to wait. And I know I'm coming from a perspective of that which is inspirational, but I think that there is an audience that needs to hear the fact that if the relationship does not work out, if you identify these 3 red flags, or any one of them, or other red flags which we haven't mentioned, and we probably should before we finish, is that you pull back and you reevaluate, reassess yourself as an individual, and allow yourself to grow through this experience before getting into another relationship on the rebound, or feeling that you have to be with another person.
Delayed gratification is a very important character trait. It's a sign of maturity.
Dr. Guy, thank you. Thank you so much. This has been very helpful. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.